Hello everybody, hello. Welcome back to another video on this channel. And if you are new, my name is Stanilka, and as of currently, I've been extremely busy with creating a graphic novel for my university course, which meant I had little time to post here, which is very sad. But nevertheless, I hope you are having a lovely day. Let's get started. This video is a little longer than the usual and will include mostly me talking about my research and practice as an illustration student in my final year of university, summarizing my themes as movement, narrative, and psychology. So, what is this video about? Firstly, I wanted to begin with outlining 4 specific parts of the brain relevant to my practice. As I'm a huge psychology nerd, it would make the process of understanding the relevancy of art to me within a holistic context a little easier. Plus, it's a test of my memory as a past psychology and biology enthusiast. Onto the part of the brain I will be discussing, the striatum, which mimics the shape of a ball with a tail. It is responsible for inspiration. This regarding an artist is of course very important. We all seek inspiration all the time. For me, it can be as easy as a walk in the wilderness, but it can range from consuming creative media such as books, paintings, and video games. A healthy mental attitude makes inspiration a little bit more visible in mundane activities and day-to-day objects such as trees and buildings. Now, the visual cortex is of course linked to our ability to understand and process visual information, working alongside our eyeballs. This function also goes hand in hand with understanding color, positive space, and recognizing natural symmetry. The hippocampus, which works alongside our ideas of memory and pattern recognition, is directly linked to our ability to remember varying loads of information at differing spaces of time, such as a taxi driver's ability to remember routes by heart. The same is applied to an artist's ability to recreate a character from memory or remember a color code for the exact colors you may need. These examples link into my practice as an illustrator who must be aware of both traditional and digital techniques. And finally, the frontal lobe, a part of the brain which is responsible for our work ethic, and also a part of my brain which has been currently turned up to the maximum level to be able to cope with the workload. Anyways, those are all the functions I wanted to refer to. This is an exploration of the mutualistic relationship between social psychology and narrative. There are other elements to my practice that I'm forever learning on this path of artistry, which with each passing day, I've recently taken up an interest in World War history, which just shows that book illustration can inspire you in ways that can be quite surprising. Anyhow, moving on from that, I would like to begin by talking a little bit about my work. This will be accompanied with visual representation of my mind, and that is my sketchbooks. I adore keeping sketchbooks. They are basically like journals, which is not surprising that they have changed and matured with me. My first sketchbooks were often loose pieces of paper, placed in paper wallets, which were then placed in folders, which are currently collecting dust in my attic. This would contain drawings of cartoons I saw on TV with specific relevancy of early 2010s Cartoon Network, or readers from mangas I rented from my school's library. My sketchbooks also work as notebooks. They tend to have a couple entries, whether from a lecture or information regarding the day. I sometimes include checklists from my day, maybe a grocery list. At the end of the day, they add up, and in a way, they are quite pleasing for me, a sort of an incentive, as if they are a visual example of all I have accomplished that day. I think it makes a sketchbook more personal and forces me to treat it with respect. This, of course, is an incentive for me to post my sketchbooks on YouTube. I really enjoy talking about my process, more than my finished pieces actually. My studio is currently covered with my work from my sketchbooks, scans of my sketchbooks. I just really enjoy having a display and being able to always see my thoughts visually. I would say the benefit of keeping sketchbooks is that they create a cohesive relationship between my loud mind and my mostly peaceful way of life. I find them to be very idea stimulating. They tend to help me straighten out narratives within my stories, which has been very useful with Hairhead as the story kept changing in my mind. When finally, by the end, I was able to straighten out the story and just it all came into fruition. Or visualize very loose designs that otherwise are very difficult to simply visualize in your mind. When I'm very preoccupied, my sketchbooks tend to be a clear indicator that I had little time to actually have fun with making art. But in the end, I get to fill my sketchbooks with work that is actually relevant to me. So, who cares? Whether you hate your sketchbooks or not, you must agree they are very fun. So, what is this Hairhead I'm talking about? What is it? Stanilka, what is it? And how did you go about making it? So, Hairhead is a graphic novel I've been working on during the semester. I've been brainstorming ideas for the graphic novel throughout the summer of 2024. And now, after 4 extremely hard months of my life, finally it is complete and in the process of being shipped to me, which is very exciting. It first started off as a parody of the Little Red Riding Hood, which was an assignment where we basically had to create our illustrations for the Grimm tales, and I chose that specific tale. Therefore, surrounding a story around a little red wolf instead of a human girl, as well as a human instead of the big bad wolf. But I really liked the dichotomy of animals with human psychological characteristics, so I chose to present him as a big bad hare, a design choice based on the unsettling look of a hare's eyes. But I liked the character of the big bad hare so much that I metamorphosed him into something a little different, changing his personality from a mere Disney villain to a morally grey individual. I will now attempt to explain the premise of the story. Jonathan Preston, the protagonist of this story, has arrived at Deodore, which is a fictional town somewhere along the border of England and Wales, but mostly within Wales, where we soon find out that he has been trying to find someone, a woman. We quickly learn that our protagonist is infatuated with this woman. The story takes place in 2 specific points in time, that is 1948, which is the present, and 1914, the beginning of World War I, in which teen Jonathan chooses to join the war effort, becoming a child soldier. The story is an odd one. Let me explain the concept. Jonathan becomes very broken throughout the entirety of his life, which affects his memory quite a lot. Therefore, he uses animals as a way of remembering scenes and people. All characters within the story are human. It's just that Jonathan's perception of them has changed. In a way, he is sort of creating newer, less painful versions of them, becoming our first look into the unreliable world of Jonathan Preston, the Hairhead. One of the unused ideas I had for the story regards to it being a science fiction World War II dystopia, in which it follows the story from 1939 to 1945 with a futuristic twist. How did you collect information for the characters? I had a lot of fun designing the characters and their personality traits. I wrote a script to help me write the story, as well as interviewing people to get a hang of, well, people a lot more. This I did by making notes whilst I was talking to the person, asking them questions about their critical thinking regarding certain situations, and the spoken word it would inspire as a consequence. This nicely tying into my love for relationship psychology. It also gave me a reason to socialize a lot more than I'm naturally geared to do. People tend to romanticize broken people, so I think it's important to explore that through the means of a comic book. So, did I have any doubts about this whole process? Well, my difficulties regarding the visual aesthetic of the story as well as the genre of it itself was a big one. I found it challenging to give certain characters a name, but Deodore and Fairgarden, which are the 2 towns mentioned within the book, were pretty easy, as I already mentioned them during my parody of the Little Red Riding Hood. So, what is my ritual? I tend to be in my studio every single day, which allows me to get on with a lot more work within a space that is, well, made for work. Now, let's take a look at a graphic novel as an example. I would begin with a short sentence describing the scene, which later is roughly created into a doodle of sort on scrap paper. This can be sketched into a comic book, which later keeps being improved upon until I get to a point where I believe the page is ready to be finalized, finishing off with composition and text, which in the future will change because I would like to include text throughout my process. This will make my life a lot easier. Sometimes we just can't help but try to cheat the system, but end up giving ourselves a lot more work to do. Which books are most significant to me? A large part of my ritual is the inspiration behind it. Introducing Mouse by Art Spiegelman, which is my all-time favorite. It is presented in a beautifully clean way. The text works with the image, the story is extremely important, and its education factor is honestly the reason why I bought it. Plus, the cat and mouse dichotomy is very clever, which before becoming a metaphor for Jewish people and Nazis, first was a description of the divide between white and black people in 1970s America, making the story stand out so much more. And it solidified to me that a good graphic novel should tell a story that in a way that should educate, validate, or even represent certain aspects of the human experience. I believe it is timeless and inspired me to get a copy of MetaMouse, which works like an artist's evaluation of his own work. One of the spreads which I found inspiring as a young artist bracing for rejection in this harsh world is the section he shows of all the rejection letters he has received for Mouse, which is extremely surprising because it is a bestseller. It is known as one of the most influential graphic novels of our time. So it is very confidence boosting to see that. Often when we see media in a bookstore, we rarely analyze how difficult it is for the artist to get it published. His life as an artist and as a human is very fascinating. I think artists have changed with the world around them. The reason to make art has also changed, and the art that is seen as worthy has changed, which makes the world so much more confusing and therefore so much more entertaining. Same could be told for other books I have collected, such as Persepolis, created by Mariana Satrapi, which is an autobiographical story regarding her life as a young girl growing up during the Iranian Revolution, portraying how much her life has changed with the gradual loss of rights within Iran, with the consequences of religious power. As Guy Delisle illustrated traveling series such as Pyongyang, A Journey in North Korea, which has a lot of charm. I specifically love the design of the humans and their movement, as well as the duality of a simpler style alongside expressive language. I am currently trying to get my hands on Robert Crumb's comic books, as I really enjoy Fritz the Cat, which is crude and a product of its time, but Crumb does a really good job at presenting exaggerated versions of bad people within media, and that's just very cool. I love it. I love his art style. As part of my media, I tend to gravitate towards dystopian novels, but I'm trying to read up on more classic literature to aid me with understanding people's narratives a little more. Books such as Sylvia Plath's Bell Jar and Eric Maria Remarque's All Quiet on the Western Front are specifically on my book hunt list. The duality of human experience is fascinating when you both attach and detach from it. As somebody who is portraying people, I think it's important to explore all possibilities and traits. Most importantly, the characteristics people want to avoid. What medium have I been exploring lately? Regarding my medium, I'm a simple person. I grew up scavenging for cheap materials. I'm not driven towards expensive products. I've gotten obsessed with using colored pencils. It's a simple and quick way for me to put down color, which proves to be extremely versatile. I don't set myself a list of rules. Everything just seems to work out in the end, which is honestly my preferred way for it to go. Why did I choose to not translate certain things within Hairhead? Well, the reason why I chose to not translate specific things in Hairhead, such as the Polish within the demo, is because the protagonist is an Englishman who isn't aware of these languages. So in this instance, we are as clueless as he is. It's also something that allows me to practice my Polish and also allows me to play around with the formula. I'm planning on including a glossary of all the words Jonathan has deducted through speech from others. The graphic novel becomes sort of like a rough journal. So, where am I going, and what sorts of projects should you expect from me in the future? So, as part of my next project, I will be creating a small advertisement animatic for Dog Hour, TM, similar to that of the Hairhead animatic that is on my YouTube, but with additional features such as a simple animation of movement, as well as a graphic novel to explore my practice a lot more. This regarding color and technique, improving upon the Hairhead demo. In doing so, I'm challenging myself to get out of my comfort zone yet again. Dog Hour, TM, is set in a pseudo 1980s world. With the introduction of genetic hybridization, the leaders of the lands decided upon mutating the human race for a continued legacy. With the status of Earth becoming unstable, oxygen levels rising, Earth being overpopulated, and a constant state of famine worldwide, yearned for a solution. Thus, through recombining DNA, a superior species could be engineered, better than a self-destructive, stupid one like the Homo sapiens. Homo canidae and the Homo felidae are easily distinguishable through their hound or feline phenotypes, such as Homo felidae has prominent whiskers protruding from their upper lip, chin, forehead, and cheekbones. They have a longer rib cage with narrower bones, as well as retractable fingernails. No tail is needed. A Homo canidae has thicker skin with less prominent whiskers. Instead, they have hardened nose tissue, rounder eyes, and an increased fat to muscle percentage. Their rib cages are wider and stronger. No tail is needed. Dog Hour, TM, is the company that has developed the HFDNA and the HCDNA implants, which is injected into all members of the family. This, of course, will do nothing to the family, but it is clear genetic changes are occurring throughout the decades. Who are our protagonists? Harper, a Homo felidae who is fascinated with human history and artifacts. She has grown accustomed to collecting fridge magnets as an underground junkyard employee. She is assertive and a hard worker. She is not accustomed to daylight. Scott is a Homo canidae who is a rule follower. However, he will listen to everything Harper tells him to do. Scott is a cook and a gadgeteer. He is kind and blunt. He is not accustomed to written word. Homo canidae and Homo felidae are not allowed to be in official relationships. They are not allowed to copulate with one another. They are biologically incompatible. They want to set up a family one day, but that would mean one of them would need to give up their entire biological identity for the other, which is believed to be unachievable and also a really hard ask. That is all I will share about Dog Hour for now. I would like to finish off this video by thanking you all for your continued support. I'm excited for the new content of 2025. I will be holding myself accountable to post regularly and have a prominent social media presence. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you around, and I hope you have an absolutely lovely day. Bye guys, I'll see you soon. This is just a little update to do with my Kickstarter. It is going to be up in a couple of days. Look out for it. I will be posting about it. Bye, guys.